Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you 2 ways on how to get started with Hackintosh the new way. So now we have released a one-click template script that you can purchase. Now it is £5, which isn't a lot of money, but I'm going to show you the actual script that you're going to be purchasing, but also a manual way on how to get it set up. I thought I'd do this because obviously if you don't have the funds to buy the script, you can set up Hackintosh the new way. It's just going to take maybe an hour or two longer. With the OCT script, you can get up and running in around 20 minutes. So you can see we're on Proxmox. Now if you don't know how to install Proxmox, it's basically like installing any other operating system. But once you've installed Proxmox and navigated to the web UI, you're going to see your summary page. Now, you can see I'm running this in a virtual machine, but yours will look the exact same. So, what I recommend doing first is getting yourself prepared to run the script, and then we'll go ahead and purchase it live on recording today. But you can see the updates and repositories. We need to disable the enterprise repository. So if we go to repositories, scroll down, disable that, add, OK, and then no subscription, click add, reload, go to updates, refresh, click OK. It'll do an apt-get update, and then once it says task OK, you can see we've got a few updates that we need to do. So we click upgrade, do Y and enter. We'll leave that running because it's always nice to keep yourself up to date, especially before performing an installation like we're doing today. Now, whilst that updates, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the buy page ready, and I'll show you what will happen once you purchase the script. So if you visit the link in the description below, it'll take you to our downloads page. I've just gone through it manually on the HFVU website. You can see now we've got our OCT script, or we've got a manual OCT guide. Now, I'm going to be following this manual OCT guide later in the video. So what I'll do, I'll leave a timestamp below, which will allow you to skip directly to the manual if you don't want to pay the £5 for the script. But all we need to do is click purchase now. It'll take you to my site, HGS Solutions, and you can see you can fill out the information. What I'm going to do, I'll fill out this information, and then we'll get on to actually downloading the script and getting it up and running on Proxmox. So I've just paid for the script, and we visit the customer dashboard. So under downloads, you can see one-click template getting started script. This will open. If we click download, or we can just directly open it. This will open a PDF which will tell you how to get started. Now I won't show you all of it because it actually does show the script that you need to download, and obviously I want you to purchase that to get up and running easier. But it just goes through the disabling the enterprise repositories and adding the non-subscription ones, which we've already done. But what I'm going to do is we're going to get ready by downloading the OCT script into Proxmox, then from there running the script and getting up and running with our macOS VM. So I'll see you in a moment where we'll actually do that. So what I've done, I've just set up a test link on my CDN, so it won't actually be the same link when you do purchase the OCT template. So this link won't work for you once the video is published. But essentially, we'll wait for this upgrade to go, and then we're going to go back to the PVE shell and run the command. And it's pretty straightforward from there. There's nothing much else to do. So I'll wait for this, and then we'll get into it. So you can see the system is up to date now here. So we can close this window, leave, and close this too. Now if we go to the shell, this is where we're going to be running the command. I'm just going to copy it. So it's wget and then the command. You can just copy and paste it from the getting started script PDF document. But if we press enter, it'll download our script. Again, it's 5.17 kilobytes, sorry. so it's not big at all. Then if we run bash tmw script tmw setup.sh, this is our setup menu. So we're obviously going to go 1 to 5, that makes sense, but you can do it in any other order really. If you don't want GPU configuration, you can skip that, but I do recommend doing it all anyway. So let's press number 1 and enter, and then it's asking what CPU we've got. Now I've got an AMD Ryzen 2700X in my server, so I'm going to select AMD. So it's now going to automatically set things up for an AMD CPU. It's all hands off, it'll do some grub alterations, etc. And you can see updated the boot entries. If I press enter, that's it. So for GPU configuration, you want to reboot before you go through that, but I'm going to continue. So if I press number 2, you can see it's modifying some stuff, but essentially what I'll do is, once this is done, we're just going to give it a reboot before blacklisting our GPU. Now I've not got a GPU pass through to this virtual machine, so I won't be actually blacklisting it, but you can find it on our guide, which it will state at the end anyway. I'll just show you a brief look at that. You can see init ramfs stuff, all hands off here. You can sit back and relax until it asks you to do something else, and it's very straightforward. Now at the end of this video, you're going to see how much more complex it is to get up manually. You can see drivers are already done. So if we copy this, and it'll automatically scroll down, and this is the bit that Tor's written on how to blacklist your device. But again, we're going to reboot before we do that. So we'll press yes, number 5, and just type in reboot. It'll reboot Proxmox, and then we can go through this guide here on how to blacklist your GPU. Again, I don't have a GPU pass through, so we won't be doing that today. But once you've done that, we're ready to continue on to downloading the one-click template script once Proxmox has rebooted. So I'll just wait for Proxmox to reboot, and I'll be back here to instruct you on how to do the next steps. So we are back online in Proxmox. If we just do the up arrow twice in this shell, it should bring up that bash script again. If we press enter, we're now on to step 3, which is the template download. So we press number 3. Again, you get 3 versions, soon to be 4 when we get the new macOS beta. But you do need to note that they go to the default directory. So if you have a NAS, they won't go over to that. They'll go over to the local LVM pool instead. But I'm going to do Ventura, or let's do Sonoma as the test today. So if we press number 3, you can see now it's beginning to download. And what I'll do, I'll obviously not keep you waiting. 8 minutes for me, but again, depending on your internet connection, depends on how long it's going to take for you. But I'm going to wait the 8 minutes, and then from there, we'll get on to actually restoring the template and what to do if you have a Wi-Fi card to pass through. So I won't be a moment. See you in a moment, guys. So you can see it's now saved. You can see it says saved there. Sorry for the cutoff, it's the resolution of my RDP session. But if we press enter, we can prep for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth pass-through if we're doing that. But I recommend doing that later once you've set up your virtual machine. So if we press number 5 and enter, and now go over to local backups, you'll see a backup file here. So this is the Sonoma one-click template. So if we click restore, and then select the storage, so I'll put it on here. I'm going to leave all this at default, and click on restore. This will restore macOS Sonoma, so it'll be ready to install without you configuring it or anything, which is very, very great. Depending on your disk speed, depends on how long it takes to restore. It usually takes mine around 1 or 2 minutes to get restored, but I won't keep you waiting on that, and I'll be back once it's restored. So once it says task OK, like below, you can see we've now restored it. So we can close this dialog box and head over to HSV Sonoma. So this is our virtual machine. Now we've got a few things that we need to do depending on what CPU we have. So if we have a 12th to 14th gen CPU, now it's supported in Sonoma. So Tor's got a fix for it, and you just need to copy these arguments. I'm on AMD, so I'm going to have to copy these. So just copy those arguments, head over to your shell, and do nano etc pve qemu server, and then your VM ID, so 100.conf. Open that up, scroll down until you find the arg section, which is here. Do the hash to comment it out, press enter under balloon and paste that in. Control X, Y and enter to save, and that's it. So we're ready to boot up. So you can alter the resources, so give it 8 gigs of RAM or whatever. I'm just going to leave it, but if we click on console now and click start now, I can full screen it. We should get our boot menu, which is customized BIOS. So you can see install macOS Sonoma's there. If I press enter, we should get the Apple logo. It should start to boot into the setup phase, which if it does, that's great. If it doesn't, maybe you need to seek help below. Check out our help section, which is in the description. But it looks like mine's booting. So what I'll do, instead of keeping you waiting, I'll resume this video when it's loaded. So you can see we're in the recovery section of macOS, which is where we need to be. First we need to format our disk, so let's go into disk utility by double clicking on it. You can change the view. I don't need to because I've not got any physical disk. It's going to be a virtual disk, but if you have any physical disks, you might need to change your view. Mine's just froze. I'm unsure why. I have got a lot of virtual machines running on my main server, so the disk may just be catching up a bit, but what I'll do, I'll wait until this loads. So you can see we're in disk utility now. Obviously it was taking a while to load because I was virtualizing it in Proxmox, if that makes sense. So I had a Proxmox hypervisor running on top of my Proxmox. So I've switched to my main rig now, so it's not running in any nested virtualization environment. But if you select the Virtual Block Media, erase it, make sure it's APFS and GUID, name it something, I'll just call it macOS, and click on erase. So if I click done, back, double click install macOS Sonoma or Ventura or Monterey, whichever you choose, click on continue. It'll bring up license agreements. Again, I'm going to agree to them, but again, that's at your own disclosure, whether you agree or not. But once we've done that, we should get a disk selection, and then we should get an option to start the installation. And then from there, it's pretty much like a real Mac. What I'll do though, is I'll show you it throughout, because when we get to the manual part, we're going to obviously skip this installation part because you've already seen it. So I'm going to agree to this, select my disk, click continue. So it's installing now, but as I was saying, the manual installation, it's just getting the virtual machine ready. From there, it's the exact same setup. So I won't keep you waiting. I'll wait myself now for 17 minutes, and then I'll get back to you when we're ready to move on to the next stage. So the next part of the installation is moving over to the macOS installer disk from the install macOS Sonoma. If we press enter there, in a few moments we'll get a progress bar, and it will tell us how long is left until we can use macOS. Now you can see it's just sort of getting itself ready, and you can see 29 minutes remaining. Now this does drop down, it drops down to about 15 minutes later on in the process. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to wait for that, and then I'll show you what is involved in the next steps. So it may reboot a couple of times in the process. You're just going to look for the hard drive logo and press enter on that. This should be one of the last times you reboot once you see your hard disk name, which in my case I called it macOS. So I think this is going to be the last time it reboots, so I'll just give it a moment. But then we should be greeted with the macOS initial setup screen. So we'll set it up like a real Mac, obviously skipping a few things. Then I'll show you how to transfer your EFI, and then we'll go on to the manual installation. so I'll see you in a moment. So here we are in the initial setup. You might notice that the background is white. This is because we've not got a GPU pass through. But we're going to go through the setup as we would normally on a real Mac, skipping any of the telemetry and also skipping Apple ID for now. Also migration assistant. So I'm setting up now on Apple ID. I'm going to agree to the terms and conditions. Give my account a name and a password. Wait for it to create the account, and then I'll meet you on the desktop. So here we are on the desktop of macOS Sonoma. I can go to About This Mac and find out more about the version that we're running. So we're running 14.4.1, which you'll see in a moment, and we've got a very basic SM BIOS. You can see here. So I'm going to go to Finder and look for the HSVE drive, which is here. You can do the README. Obviously I'm going to be guiding you through that, but all we need to do is the Getting Started folder, copy it to downloads, which will allow us to keep it after we remove the EFI folder. Depending on your disk speed, depends on how long it's going to take to copy over. But once it's copied, we're going to open that folder. First go to Tools, and we are going to install Python first. So open. So right clicking and open bypasses the security checks. But Python will allow us to use the Mount EFI quick launch action, which I'll show you in a moment. You can use OpenCore Configurator. I'll show you that in a little bit when we generate the SM BIOS. But just for copying over the EFI, we'll use this application. So we're installing Python, which is a prerequisite of the Mount EFI. Once Python's installed, we'll install the quick action, mount the EFI, and then copy over the correct one for our system. Now, you might think, well, what about if I want to make my own EFI? Now, the way Proxmox works, it uses its own custom sort of EFI, SSDTs and everything like that. So again, you're not really learning how to make a Hackintosh, it's how to get up and running quickly. But Python's installed now, so I'm going to look for Mount EFI, right click open. So if I right click and click open on that workflow, it's going to ask if we want to install it. Yes. And then in a moment we should, let's just close Python. We should, if we click allow, move to trash on that, we should now, if we go to Go, Computer, right click on our macOS drive, Quick Actions, Mount EFI, it should mount our EFI folder. Let's see if it does so. So it's asking for our password, and now we have the EFI folder. Now if we go back to Getting Started here and double click into EFIs, we'll do it without verbose, but if you have any issues I recommend doing with verbose, but without verbose, and we're going to find the right one for our system. You can find this in our GPU guide, which is located on our Getting Started PDF. But I'm on a RX 580 or RX 570, so native GPUs is the one for me. If I double click into the folder that we've extracted, right click and copy the EFI folder, paste it into the EFI partition. Once I've pasted that in, I'm going to open that folder within and find our OpenCore config.plist. So once it's copied, if I go back to our tools, and we'll just use OpenCore configurator. You can do OCAT, but I like OpenCore configurator. I'm a bit old fashioned, despite the script that me and Tor have put together. But you can see, if we just right click open, open again, the EFI is already mounted, so we don't need to touch that. If we go back to Finder, EFI, EFI again, OC, right click on config.plist, open it with OpenCore configurator. You can see we've got it open. So I'm going to go to platform info and generate an SMBIOS. I'll just do, I recommend doing Mac Pro 7.1, but I'll just be different today and do a Mac Mini. So if we do that and generate a random serial number, so I'll just keep pressing that quite a few times, same with the UUID. File, save as, that's saved. Now if we shut down the Mac, let's just untick that. We need to navigate to the hardware section of the virtual machine and remove our EFI folder and our getting started disks, because they're actually virtual disks. So you see here, hardware, we're just going to remove the two IDE drives. So detach. You can remove the unused disks, which I'll do, but if you want to obviously attach them again later, it does make it easier leaving them there. If we go back to console, boot up our VM, we're now ready for GPU pass-through, which obviously you're going to follow that guide that Tor's made, continue it, which will allow you to obviously pass through your GPU, pass through your keyboard and mouse, you know, your USB controllers, and get macOS Sonoma set up successfully. So I'll just show you. If we log in and go to About This Mac, we should get a Mac Mini 2018 SMBIOS. Now, it's a very basic setup that I've showed today. I'm just scratching the surface of what you can do with your Hackintosh, but again, it's for time's sake, because I'm sure you don't want it to take too long. But once you're set up on macOS, you're ready to go with our one-click template script. Now, for £5, that's not a lot of money, considering you're saving over £2,000 on a new Mac device. Well, you can see macOS Sonoma 14.4.1 on the Mac Mini 2018. So the next part of the video that I'm going to show is going to be how to set this up manually. So I will get back to you in a moment with some manual steps. Thanks for watching this part of the video. So this part of the video is how to get set up manually. Now this is without the script and it's going to be free for you to use. Obviously this is going to take quite a lot longer than the one-click template script, but obviously you won't have to pay that £5. So I've decided obviously to do a manual method just in case funds aren't great, or you just want to experiment yourself and learn more about how Proxmox Hackintosh works. But if you go to the link in the description, in the blog post you'll find a link to this from scratch guide that Tor's put together. Many thanks to him. Obviously we've got a table of contents and obviously a before you begin. So I just recommend having a read through the Hackintosh page just to familiarise yourself with it, and then you're going to download your ISO file. Now I've downloaded the Ventura ISO from here, and also our custom made OpenCore boot ISO here. Now all we need to do with that is go over to Proxmox, go to our local volume, ISO images, upload, and then select our upload. So OpenCore first, clicking on upload, and then this will go over the local network, usually a gigabit per second, depending if you're on wired to wired or not. It'll copy over around a gigabit per second to your Proxmox server. So once this bit's done, then we're going to do the same with the Ventura ISO. We're going to copy that over. Then from there, we're ready to proceed with the guide, which is actually creating the virtual machine from scratch. So the way we actually make the templates is using this method, the manual method, and then obviously we can use our tools to convert that into a template for you to use, and then implement that into the one-click template script. So it's going to copy from the temporary directory into our ISOs folder, and then task is OK, and you can see that ISO's there. Do the same again with Ventura. This will take long because it's 14.5 gigabytes. So what I'll do, I'll wait for that, and I'll cut this video now so you're not waiting for it. So thanks very much, see you in a moment. So we're now ready to move on to the next step. It did actually take longer than expected to copy over, But now we're on to creating the VM. So if we close this dialog and click create VM at the top right, name it whatever you like, my macOS for example, my macOS OS. First select your open core ISO, let me just double check. Oh, Tor has done the install one first, so let's do that. Type other, and then on system, Q35 or VMF, select your AFI, untick pre-roll keys, tick QEMU agent. Now Tor has put VirtIO SCSI, not single on this, so we'll do that. Disks, VirtIO block. I'm just going to give it 100 gig advanced. Untick IO thread and discard, tick, and then Tor's the default no cache for that. We'll leave backup on. For cores, I'll do 4 and click the little cross so it goes to default KVM64. You can alter other things here, but just leave it. I'll give it 4 gigs of RAM. Network, untick firewall, VirtIO paravirtualized, as you can see here. And now if we click finish, it'll now create our virtual machine. Now again, this is much more complex, but once you're set up, actually installing it, etc., is all the same. If we go to the VM now and go to hardware, we're ready to add our another disk. So go into IDE 0 on the CD DVD drive and selecting our open core, add that, and make sure the boot order is set to the CD DVD drive first. So scroll that up, click OK, and now same again, nano etc pve QEMU server, and then vmid.conf. So here we're going to change the IDE 0 to cache unsafe, and I believe it's the same with the normal one too. Yeah, it is. So the installer, cache unsafe, and the args, which you'll find here. So I'm on Ventura and I'm on AMD. So I'm going to copy these and go to the bottom, paste, Control X, Y, enter, and that's it. That's the VM configured. Now, before we boot the VM up, you can see we've got the 3 hard disks now because we've converted them ISOs into a hard disk format. So we go to console, start now. You can see we should get the page like we were getting on the OCT now. So as you can see here, the only difference is it's Ventura and not Sonoma. But this will boot up and you can continue setting it up just like I did on the one-click template. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as it does really help just to see what you think of these videos. But also please subscribe, as we're quite close to 8,000 subscribers now, which is crazy. But I hope you like the one-click template script. It for sure does make it easier, even for myself when I'm setting up virtual machines for videos like this. But thanks ever so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.